recapping the NFL Week 7 slate through a fantasy football lens. That's what we're here to do today. Appreciate all of you watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. So, NFL Week 7, not the best week for me. Pulled my back on Saturday morning, so still a little tender there. Was going to do a co-stream with Pete. Had to cancel that one. Feeling a little bit better. Make sure to take care of yourself. Again, used to do this show on Monday. Let me know whether you prefer Monday or Tuesday. Some people like me to include Monday Night Football. Some people just want all the action Monday morning. Going back to the Thursday night game here, a real stinker. Broncos shellac the injured Saints. Not going to go too into this one. But Javonte Williams had a good fantasy day, scored 2 touchdowns. Bo Nix got some rushing yards. Digging into the usage stats. I mean, Alvin Kamara is definitely a trade candidate. Could see him landing with a team like the Chiefs, maybe the Cowboys. Would be pretty cheap. Saints are without all their star wide receivers, meaning Bub Means, Mason Tipton, and Cedric Wilson were their top 3. Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau also played a lot of snaps, ran a lot of routes. And Kendre Miller saw his first NFL action, so this season at least. He's a good pickup on waivers. Could just be the starting running back soon. Broncos land. Yeah, they're dealing with injuries as well. I mean, this offense is a stinker still, I think. All right. Moving on to more impactful games. Starting us off with London. Let's check in on the Pats. The Pats got up early in this one, but then salted it away. Drake May, I mean, over 20 fantasy points in his 2 NFL starts. No way he could be doing this if he didn't have to sit behind Jacoby Brissett. I mean, makes no sense, but Drake May balling out here. 276 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson a bit banged up. Antonio Gibson got banged up as well. Hunter Henry, 8 receptions, 92 yards in the box score. JaMychal Hasty, 5 receptions, 49 yards. Got the touchdown on the Gibson sub out. KJ Osborne got a garbage time touchdown on the Jag side. Tank Bigsby, 2 rushing touchdowns. ETN, don't think he played this one, banged up. Brian Thomas Jr., 589 and touchdown, continues to ball out. Christian Kirk, near end zone touchdown, possible trade away target as well. Digging into the usage. Yeah, I mean, anytime your team only has 15, 18, 17, 14 routes run, you know it was not a high volume pass day. Meaning that the Jags, if they're allowed to, probably want to run the ball, just get a win. Still think Doug Peterson could be fired this week, but maybe not. In the Pats, Kendrick Bourne seems like he's nearly full healthy. 26 routes run. Kayshon Boudier, 37 routes run for him. Jalen Polk, 2nd-round draft pick, has been absolutely brutal. I'm not going to be surprised if he loses work to KJ Osborne, Demario Douglas. I think he's banged up working through something, so only 10 routes run for him. That was surprising. Maybe he got hurt in game. Yeah, I think we could see Javon Baker get a shot here soon with Polk looking so bad, and maybe KJ Osborne plays more. Something like that. And you can kind of see the Gibson injury, the Ramondre injury, in the fact that JaMychal Hasty, 20 snaps, 16 routes, 5 targets. Pretty ho-hum day, though, for the Patriots. Moving on, Seahawks Falcons. Seahawks beat up on the Falcons 34-14. Geno, 207 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Ken Walker, 14 carries, 70 yards, a touchdown. DK Metcalf, 499 and 1. Got injured in this one. Might miss this week, a couple weeks. Doesn't seem too serious, though. Noah Fant, 4 for 65. Tyler Lockett, 4 for 45. Ken Walker, also a receiving touchdown. The Falcons, Kirk Cousins, pretty ho-hum day. Bijan Robinson, 21 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. They got rid of Tyler Algier in a game that they lost by 20. And then Kyle Pitts, 7 for 65. Drake London, 6 for 63. And Darnell Mooney, 5 for 46. Digging into the usage, not sure there's much to learn here. Lockett's been pretty banged up, so 21 routes run for him. Might see that go up. We're going to see more Jake Bobo if Metcalf misses. The JSN breakout, no. I mean, just a very disappointing, right? Like, this guy was a first-round pick. We all had pretty high expectations for him. Doesn't seem like it's happening. Noah Fant could have had a much bigger day if the Seahawks had to pass more. He had like 60 yards at halftime. And the Charbonnet Walker breakdown, I don't know when the Charbonnet snaps came, but it was pretty even. So my assumption, though, is Charbonnet kind of came to salt the game away. Pretty even, 14 routes to 10 routes, 33 to 28 snaps, 14 carries for Walker to Charbonnet, 7. On the Falcons side, pretty normal stuff from their starters. The Bijan Algier breakdown, 50 snaps for Bijan, 17 for Algier, 22 routes for Bijan, 9 for Algier, 21 carries for Bijan, 5 for Algier, 5 targets for Bijan, 1 for Algier. And this could be the fact that the Falcons were losing and they wanted to play their best players. It also could be a reminder that Bijan had a shoulder injury 2 weeks ago, and so Algier was getting a lot of run. And I think the fantasy community, they tend to react to what's happening now. And so what's happening now in their mind is it's a timeshare. And the reality of it could have been that Bijan was not full health, so they're going to be a timeshare for 1 to 2 weeks. But ideally to them, Bijan is the dominant snap player. And the Algier being a 1B, he could move way closer to a clear 2 where he's only giving a change of pace. So something to monitor there. Moving on. The Bills beat up on the Titans. Lots to talk about in this one. Bills win 34-10. They were down 3-0, maybe 10-0 early. No Will Levis for this one. So not much going. Yeah, I thought Tony Pollard was awful chalk. Anytime your running back is going to be mega chalk and your team is favored to lose by 10, not very smart to me. For example, why have running backs been getting there on the Bills? Because the Bills want to shut down passing games. Do you need to shut down the Titans passing game? No. So they can put more resources to stopping the run. Mason Rudolph got the start, 200 yards, a touchdown. I mean, with the injuries, man, he might be startable. Tony Pollard, 16 carries, 61 yards. No Tajay Spears in this one. Chigakonkwo, 4 for 50. Tyler Boyd, 5 for 43. Calvin Ridley, 3 for 42. Pretty ho-hum day. On the Bills side, this was a tale of two halves. It was a windy day, which, Josh Allen is one of the few quarterbacks who can pass in the wind. I'd really say like him, Mahomes, maybe Burrow. 323 yards, but he had, I think, 60 passing yards in the first half and around 250 in the second half. So maybe the Bills, this is a shift of philosophy, right? They got Amari Cooper. He didn't play a ton of snaps, as we'll dig into. Box score, both Ray Davis and James Cook scored touchdowns in this one. Ray Davis actually was banged up, hurt his calf in practice. So he could score this touchdown in garbage time. James Cook got the touchdown early. He's still a little banged up too. Keon Coleman led the league in receiving yards this week, I believe. 4 for 125. Also had a touchdown nullified by inches, literal like inches. He caught it in bounds. They say he juggled it. Debatable. Amari Cooper, 466-1. Khalil Shakir, 765-0. Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 52, tackled at the 1-yard line. This is what you want to see in the box score for the Bills. These 4 players, maybe James Cook. And you want to see guys like Dawson Knox not that involved, Matt Collins, a burger. Curtis Samuel hurt his shoulder in this one, so that should further condense things. And yeah, this is how everyone gets there in Buffalo. Josh Allen spreads the ball around. He throws it to these 4 guys primarily, and he regularly throws for around 300 yards. If he's going to be around 150 yards, okay, no one's getting there. Digging into the usage, we can see Matt Collins, 23 routes run, Keon Coleman, 29, Khalil Shakir, 28, Amari Cooper, only 12 routes run. Really heads up play by Keon Coleman, by the way, in the end zone. Amari Cooper didn't know. Josh Allen checks to a play. Amari Cooper didn't know what route he's supposed to run. Keon Coleman pointed like this, saying, just run straight, bro. And so he did. And Josh Allen hit him for a touchdown. And the hope is that Amari Cooper opens up the field for all the Bills players. And that is what we saw in this game. You also want to see this for Dalton Kincaid. 25 routes run, pretty equal to Shakir. Coleman as the top route runners on the team. 6 targets for Kincaid, 5 for Cooper, 7 for Shakir, 7 for Coleman. 41 snaps for Coleman and Matt Collins, 40 for Kincaid. So the top snap players on the team, 38 for Shakir. And the logical assumption is that once Amari Cooper goes to a full snap player, which should be this upcoming week, those snaps you want to come at the expense of Matt Collins, right? Just swap Matt Collins and Cooper. That's the ideal world. Maybe even take some away from Knox. Just not that good of a player. He's a good blocker, right? Matt Collins will play some in that he's a blocking wide receiver. He's good at that. Josh likes him, so he'll get some routes, right? But this is how everyone kind of stays afloat in Buffalo. Cooper demands attention, open up the middle field for Shakir, Kincaid, and Coleman has some splash plays. The running back breakdown, 29 for Cook, 13 for Ray, 12 for Ty. Ty played early, Ray played late, so I'm assuming once Ray is healthy, the Ty Johnson snaps will go closer to 0, but, he does some things well for the Bills. The Titans, not sure we care about the Titans offense, but Tony Pollard was a clear workhorse with Julius Chestnut only getting 8 snaps to his 65. 3 tight ends played a lot, so they were trying to kind of like bully ball it. Calvin Ridley, Hopkins, Boyd, and Nick Westbrook-Akine got in there quite a bit for the team. So they kind of did this 4 wide receiver rotation. I don't know. Brutal team for fantasy points. You really only kind of want the running backs here. Moving forward. Bengals and Browns. I want to believe in the Bengals' chances to become a playoff team. They win this game 21-14, but their wins over the Giants and the Browns these past 2 weeks have not inspired confidence. They score on a kickoff return to start this game and then really struggled, right? The Browns D still is really legit. Joe Burrow, 180 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown, 15 carries, 44 yards. Zach Moss, 6 carries, 7 yards. T. Higgins, 482-1. Jamar Chase, 555-1. Zach Moss, 3 for 33. Chase Brown, 2 for 9. On the Browns side, Watson, season-ending injury. See you later, guy. Fans were cheering the injury. I get it. Browns were so dumb that they made Jameis Winston the 3rd emergency quarterback just to prevent fans for cheering for Jameis. And then I think they had to fake an injury to Dorian Thompson to get Jameis on the field. So Jameis will be the starter the rest of the way. Just some 3rd emergency QBs there. Nick Chubb sees his first NFL action and scores a touchdown. Great to see for him. Highly unlikely he's traded, but it would be smart for the Browns to trade him away to the team. Like if they need a 5th round pick, they should do it. They're facing a full rebuild with no future at quarterback. They got an aging, bad roster, except for their defense. It's bad. Cedric Tillman, kind of a breakout here, 8 for 81. David Njoku, 10 for 76 and 1. Elijah Moore, 6 for 41. So, and Jerry Jeudy, a disappointing 1 for 18 with no Amari Cooper. I think Jameis Winston kind of fits like, okay, Deshaun Watson, I think, was going to check it down to Njoku a lot. Is Jameis Winston? I don't know. Like, to me, I think he'll throw some jump balls to Cedric Tillman. So Cedric Tillman, pretty interesting pickup. Snaps, Chase and Higgins, the dominant guys here. Andre Yoshivas, still the third. Jermaine Burton, he's getting in there a little bit. Eric All, 14 routes for him, 13 for Gesicki. They still play the blocking tight end, Drew Sample. And then Chase Brown and Zach Moss, pretty much in a 50-50 work share here. 10 routes for Brown, 11 for Moss, 2 targets for Brown, 3 for Moss, 15 carries for Brown, 6 for Moss. I will remind people that Moss hurt his ankle pretty severely 2 weeks ago, so I still don't think Moss is fully healthy. He's healthy enough, obviously, to get on the field. And it seems like Brown is clearly the 1A going forward, and Moss is the 1B. But as long as it's the 1A, 1B, there's room for both of them to be fine. If Brown becomes the clear 1 and Moss more like rather than playing 50% of snaps, he's playing like 25%, that'd be a huge problem for Moss. And I wouldn't be surprised with Andre Yoshivas looking pretty pedestrian if eventually Jermaine Burton emerges as the 3. With no Amari Cooper, Jeudy, Tillman, and Moore led the team in routes. Guys like Jalen Darden and Jamari Trash got in there a little bit. Njoku, also a top route runner here. Just note, like, anytime a team runs 84 snaps, that's a super high amount. And so I would not, if you're thinking of DFS in the future weeks, like, think of the game that the Bears beat the Rams. They ran like 90 snaps that week. Of course, everyone's going to do good in fantasy. The Browns are not going to have this much, volume each week. The running back room with no Jerome Ford in this one. 42 snaps for Pierre Strong, 30 for Chubb, 11 for Foreman, 31 routes for Strong, 11 for Chubb, 4 for Foreman, 2 targets for Strong, 3 for Chubb, 3 carries for Strong, 11 for Chubb. So, yeah, this is why I thought Jerome Ford was a pretty solid pick when he was cheap in best ball, because Ford would have been in the strong role here, probably even a little bit more, where Chubb can be your first and second down running back, your guy getting the carries, and then Ford will be your pass down back, still mixing in a little bit on the ground. Once Ford is healthy, I'm assuming he'll slot in ahead of Strong, and Chubb should get more work as we go, and Foreman might get cut. Moving on. The Texans and the Packers played kind of a stinker here. Packers won 24-22 in a day that CJ Stroud passed for 86 yards. So, I don't know. Year 2 of the Texans not looking beautiful to me. 25, everyone was like, oh, the Texans are going to pass for 5,000 yards with their 3-headed wide receivers. Not looking that way. I guess missing Nico Collins is killing them. CJ Stroud, 86 passing yards. Joe Mixon, 25 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. So monster day for Mixon again. Schultz led the way for 1-28. Diggs 5 for 23. And Tank Dell, an air ball. On the Packers side, Jordan Love, 220 and 3. 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 12 for 76. Romeo Doubs, 8 for 94. Wicks, 3 for 48 and 1. Kraft, 3 for 33 and 1. Josh Jacobs got his first receiving touchdown ever in his career. 5-16 and 1. Good for him. Jaden Reed, airball. Watson, airball. Yeah, I think this is partially just the nature of the beast with the Packers. They got a lot of mouths to feed, and partially guys working through injuries here. Digging into the snaps. Oh, my back is hurt if you guys didn't miss the beginning here, but Romeo Doubs, 32 routes, Reed 31, Watson 19, Wicks 17, Kraft 37. So not great for Watson and Wicks that Kraft is the number one route runner on the team. He is good, right? Like there's a little Gronk to his game, if you would. Ranks very high in ESPN analytics. Watson has been dealing with injuries. So has Wicks, though. So not sure if this is the trend going forward or just, a game plan, how to attack the Texans. Josh Jacobs, 21 routes to Emmanuel Wilson, 6. So Marshawn Lloyd, when he returns, there's still room for him. Reed was also banged up, so he saw 4 targets, but Romeo Doubs, 10 targets. I wouldn't build the airplane out of Romeo Doubs targets, but hey, Packers like him, Love likes him. Pretty solid if that's going to be the case. Oh, play calling for the Texans, run, pass, punt. Yeah, the Bills were doing that too, man. It's terrible, right? You got to pass the effing football. Texans, 25 routes for Diggs, 25 routes for Dell, 22 routes for Schultz, Xavier Hutchinson 17, John Mechie 10. So they're kind of like third wide receiver with no Nico. These guys are nothing. 1 target for Hutchinson, 0 for Mechie. Joe Mixon, 13 routes, 3 targets. Dari Ngumbawale, 5 routes, 1 target, 1 carry. And Dameon Pierce, I kind of thought he'd get more run. Played well last week. Only 4 routes run, only 2 carries, only 7 snaps. So, yeah, Ngumbawale and Pierce, both zeros unless Mixon got hurt. If Mixon got hurt, I think Pierce would be your early down grinder, and Ngumbawale would be your passing down back. So, I don't know. Kind of a boring offense. Maybe the Packers defense is just kind of legit. But, yeah, concerning signs for Houston without Nico Collins. Really struggling without him. Colts and Dolphins. This game was super relevant for both these teams in that both of these teams are trying to make the playoffs. The Colts at 4-3, I think, are a playoff team right now. The Dolphins at 2-4. Fantasy-wise, a pretty meh day. I don't know if Huntley got benched or hurt. Who cares? I think we're getting Tua back this week. Mostert and Achane and Wright also run here. 15 carries for Achane, 77 yards. 11 carries for Mostert, 50 yards. Did see Mostert get the goal line carries. Wright, 5 for 33. Jonnu, 796 and 1. Stole like a goal line touchdown. Huge day for him. Nothing to write home about for the rest of the group here. And in the Colts, Anthony Richardson wasn't good. He had an awesome touchdown nullified by penalty, but 14 carries for him. That's what you want to see, right? And this is what I've been kind of saying is like, okay, the Colts' main goal should be to develop Richardson, but which includes passing the football. But if you can't get that going, run him into the ground, try to win games like that, And so he was at like 5 carries a game. If he's at 14 carries, he's going to pay off in fantasy, just hitting big passes and running the football. Maybe a sneaky buy low guy. 14 carries, 56 yards. Trey Sermon is not good. So Tyler Goodson got 14 carries, 51 yards and a touchdown. Trey Sermon, 8 for 36. Pittman, 3 for 63. Digging into the snaps and usage, 28 routes for Pittman, 24 for Pierce, 20 for Downs. Downs was banged up, so partially dealing with that. Adonai Mitchell, still only 14 snaps, 6 routes run. He's got to overtake Pierce, but it's hard because Pierce is doing good at what he does. The tight ends suck here. 32 snaps for Sermon, 30 for Goodson, 12 routes for Sermon, 6 for Goodson, 8 carries for Sermon, 14 for Goodson, and Evan Holgang. We did it, guys. We got 1 snap, 0-0-0 on that snap. But hey, first you got to get on the snap. You got to get snapped to get on the field, and then maybe you get a carry. You should just be done with the Trey Sermon experience, in my opinion. At the Dolphins, don't think there's a ton to glean here other than that Malik Washington appears to be playing more than Odell Beckham. 16 routes for him, 9 for Beckham. Obviously, both these guys are zeros without Tua. But when Tua returns, one of these guys could have appeal. And I wouldn't say it's clearly that Washington is ahead of Odell. Maybe that's the case. But Odell did return from IR, so wouldn't be that surprised to see him flip Malik. Going to be a battle the rest of the year. Jonnu Smith, third on the team in routes. And then Achane, the clear, 21 routes to Mostert's 9, 15 carries to Mostert's 11, 3 targets for Achane, 0 for Mostert, 40 snaps for Achane, 23 for Mostert. Bad news for Jalen Wright, but Mostert and Achane seem locked and loaded for the future. Lions and Vikings play an exciting game. 31-29. Yeah, I just thought the Lions were a better team. I was kind of surprised people were trying to bet the Vikings. Not that winning by 2 points proves that, but always like to bet on the team with like the best O-line in the league, which is the Lions. So Jared Goff, 22 completions out of 25 for 280 and 2. Gibbs, a monster day. Montgomery took looked like a season-ending leg injury. Dan Campbell said it was pretty minor, so he should be fine. He got back in the game, but 15 carries for Gibbs, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. Perhaps this could be a flipping of the guard. When the Lions are able to pound a team with the run, they're going to get Montgomery in there. But when they need that explosive play element, facing a good team, I think they're going to ride with Gibbs. Amon-Ra, 8, 112 and 1. Gibbs, 4 for 44. So it really was just Amon-Ra for the Lions. And then Khalif Raymond stealing work. Not great for Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams was suspended for only 2 games for, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if he took like a performance enhancer or he took a wrong prescription or whatever. Don't know. 2-game suspension for him, though, meaning that we'll see more Tim Patrick and Khalif Raymond in the meantime. Sam Darnold, 260 and 1. Aaron Jones, 1493 and 1. Justin Jefferson, 781 and 1. So even in this shootout game, you still only got 27 pass attempts for Darnold. Not great for the Vikings pass game volume. Jalen Naylor, 4 for 76. Jordan Addison, 3 for 66. Pretty ho-hum day for the Vikings. Usage, 27 routes for Monra, 24 for Jameson. So yeah, how they're going to replace the Jameson, I'm assuming that Sam Laporta will be the biggest beneficiary for the next 2 weeks. Maybe he can get some momentum going. And then expect to see more Patrick and Raymond. Patrick plays more as the blocking guy. Raymond, more of a receiving threat. And maybe they go more to tight end as well with this Brock Wright fella. 33 snaps for Gibbs, 22 for Montgomery, 15 carries for Gibbs, 9 for Montgomery, 17 routes for Gibbs, 8 for Montgomery, 4 targets for Gibbs, 3 for Montgomery. Vikings, pretty clear, 3 wideout rotation. Jefferson, Addison, and Naylor. Munt and Oliver dicing up the tight end work. We might get TJ Hawkinson next week, so going to be interesting to monitor how that changes. And then Aaron Jones, despite coming into this game banged up, played a dominant amount of snaps. 43 snaps for him, 22 routes, 14 carries, 3 targets. So Vikings clearly thought this game was important. They wanted to win. They played Aaron Jones despite the health concerns. And yeah, bad news for Ty Chandler. Just not a very good football player, I guess. Eagles beat up on the Giants in the Saquon Barkley revenge game. 28-3, Eagles. Hurts, 100 passing yards and a touchdown. Saquon, 176 rushing yards, a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 589 and 1. Giants really struggled without Andrew Thomas, their left tackle, or Evan Neal, or I don't know. I don't remember. One of their tackles is hurt. Really bad for the passing game. Only 99 passing yards for Daniel Jones. Really nothing to write home here. Malik Neighbors, 4 for 41. Usage stats, no Dallas Goedert in this one. We saw 19 routes for Grant Calcaterra. Going to be tough for him to get there. in a non-heavy pass volume game. Jahan Dotson continues to run clear out routes. Absolutely terrible trade for the Eagles. They gave up a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson. That's what the Bills gave up for Amari Cooper. So ask yourself, who would you rather have, Jahan Dotson or Amari Cooper? Right? Insane. And there's no salary on Cooper either, right? Saquon, 14 routes, 17 carries. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm assuming most of this came in garbage time. 12 carries for him. Will Shipley also saw some garbage time carries. Hashtag we'll get there soon. Giants, with Malik Neighbors back in the lineup, we saw Darius Slayton, 40 routes, 3 targets. We saw Theo Johnson, 35 routes. And then with Devin Singletary back, still probably not full health, but 39 snaps for Tyrone Tracy, 12 for Singletary, 27 routes for Tracy, 6 for Singletary, 6 carries for Tracy, 5 for Singletary, 3 targets for Tracy, 1 for Singletary. And yeah, this is kind of what I said going into the season. Like, I like Singletary, ex-Bill, good football player, but it's really hard to pay off as a non-explosive player on a likely bad team that's not going to score a lot of touchdowns especially when you have a rookie behind you who is extremely athletic. Like, Tyrone Tracy is fast. He's athletic. So if you're a team and you're like, hey, I want some juice, are you looking for Singletary, whose home run is like a 12-yard run, or Tyrone Tracy, who can house an 80-yard touchdown? Clearly Tracy for me. And yeah, I don't know if I said it, but Theo Johnson, clear receiving tight end. Great to see for him. Wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Hyatt or Slayton shipped out at the trade deadline. Rams, Raiders. Aiden O'Connell. I mean, I think the Aiden O'Connell drafters, which I was included in, I think they were right. I think Aiden would have gotten the rest of the season, but he breaks his thumb in this one to start the game. So after opening a respectable 6 for 10 for 52, so I think he's missing at least 4 weeks. Gardner Minshew got in there through 3 picks. Alexander Madison with Zamir White back, 23 carries, 92 yards. So I don't know if Zamir White's just not healthy or if they just don't think he's very good. Probably a combination. Brock Bowers, 10 for 93. He continues to get there on the worst football team. I will note that, like, I draft a lot of Bowers, but yeah, I mean, it took, if Devontae Adams was still on the team, if Jacoby Myers was playing, I think you would get Bowers closer to 5 to 7 targets versus 10 receptions a game. But that's not the reality we're living in. So, like, people are just going to pretend like, oh, yes, Bowers was always going to be getting 10 targets a game. He's the only Raiders passing game. No, that was not what we knew going into the season. But that's the reality we're facing now. He's playing with a bunch of non-target dominant guys. Really, Madison and Bowers, the only guys you kind of want here. Maybe Myers. Maybe Myers gets traded. Trey Tucker, he'll have some best ball weeks as well. Rams, Stafford, ho-hum day. Kyron Williams, the punt returner. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on Twitter, but I was like, when the Kyron's a punt returner, I was staunchly against that, being like, this is ridiculous. People are doing this. I know for a fact, if we had gotten the Kyron's a punt returner line on August 1st instead of like August 27th, Kyron Williams would have fallen down to like a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick because people would have been bored. They would have marinated with it. They would have talked themselves into it. So just unfortunate. He's smashing 21 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Johnson playing again. Didn't expect that. Think we're going to get Cooper Kupp back next week. Digging into the usage. $24 routes for Demarcus Robinson, 24 routes for Tyler Johnson, 22 routes for Tutu. I don't know what happened to Whittington. I know he was banged up going into this. I didn't understand it was to this degree. Neither did anyone. I'm assuming he got hurt early because he was at 0 routes run, only 9 snaps. So I'm not sure if he's going to, like, to me, I could see a couple things happening. If you get Kupp and Puka back, maybe you play Whittington. You have 3 similar body types. Or maybe you prefer a guy like Tutu Atwell, kind of like a space clear out fast guy, or Tyler Johnson in that role. Or maybe you prefer Mr. Reliable Demarcus Robinson, blocking wide receiver. So A lot to sort through here on the Rams still. Blake Corum off the bye, 6 snaps, 1 route, 3 carries, probably in garbage time too. So the breakout for him not occurring, especially not in games where the Rams need to win. And Colby Parkinson, been a very solid tight end, 15 routes, 2 targets. Raiders usage, DJ Turner led the team in routes. Again, a lot of work here. Alec Bachman is a top 3 wide receiver for them. Christian Wilkerson getting in the mix there. Brock Bowers, 39 routes, 13 targets, 7 targets for Turner, 7 targets for Tucker. And then, Alexander Madison, 55 snaps, 22 routes, 23 carries, absolute workhorse. I wrote him up as a top DFS play. Feel vindicated there. Zamir White, nothing. Amir Abdullah, nothing. Maybe White gets more usage as he gets going, but I think Madison is just better than him. Moving on. Commanders destroy the Panthers 40-7. Andy Dalton, this is how bad Bryce Young is. Andy Dalton played in this game until they were down 40-7. They didn't bench him down 37. They didn't bench him, down 25-7. They benched him only when it was down 40-7. That's how over it is for Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, 17 carries, 52 yards, a touchdown. Jatavian Sanders, 6 for 61. Those are your Panthers players. Jaden Daniels gets hurt to start this game. Brutal. Should be fine. But yeah, brutal that you don't get this game. Marcus Mariota played very well in relief. Marcus Mariota signing, by the way, is why I knew the Commanders were drafting Jaden Daniels. People didn't they didn't think that logic was sound. But yeah, why do you sign Mariota as your backup? You don't take a guy. It's not to have Caleb Williams be your starter. It's a guy like Jaden Daniels being your starter. Brian Thomas Jr. was banged up going into this one. 12 carries, 71 yards, a touchdown. Eckler, 4 for 17. McNichols, 7 for 42. Terry McLaurin, 6 for 98. Ertz, 441. Ben Sinnott, first NFL catch, first NFL touchdown, and he got second catch, 2-6-1. So good to see him a little alive. Digging into the usage, yikes. This is going to be tough for managed leagues if it holds this way. 19, 17, 18, 12, 10, and 19 routes. 6 guys around there plus Eckler. I'm assuming some of this had to do with the blowout, like them resting Terry late and letting Diami play more. And then also Sinnott and John Bates also in the mix. So just absolutely no one startable other than probably Terry and I guess Ertz. You hope that Ben Sinnott gets more work as the season goes. Maybe McCaffrey as well. And then, I think Brian Robinson still banged up. Saw 12 carries. Should be healthier going forward, though. I skipped the Panthers by accident. What I wanted to talk about here is that I thought Tommy Tremble was active, but maybe he wasn't. It didn't matter. Ian Thomas was. Sanders still the top tight end here, looking like a solid pick. And then not going to be trading, or not going to be surprising to see the Panthers trade away Deontay Johnson. Really, I don't know. Not much else to glean here. Chiefs, first 49ers. Brutal injury for my bags. I mean, wild game where Chiefs beat up on the 49ers. Was a close game. Deebo Samuel has pneumonia or something. Not saying that word right. Jesus Christ. I know how to spell it. I can't pronounce it right now. He's got fluid in his lungs, is how you say it. And then Brandon Ayuk plays the game, tears his ACL, out for the season. Absolutely brutal. I drafted a lot of Brandon Ayuk because I thought he was a guy who could smash in the finals against the Lions. I think that was still correct. You've seen wide receivers get there time and time again. Pneumonia. Thank you. Jesus, man. I was struggling this morning. Pneumonia. Yeah, there we go. I was trying to pronounce the PN, Mahomes continues to be a terrible fantasy quarterback. Like, I was all over this. I'm sure it's swayed a little bit by losing his pass catchers, but 150 yards passing. Did chip in 39 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Some people are mad at Mahomes because he ran on the sideline and then he kept on running and it looked like he was going out of bounds. Yeah, I don't know. It's iffy. Kareem Hunt, your smash here for the Chiefs. 22 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. McCole Hardman got a touchdown. Xavier Worthy just missed on a near deep bomb. 49ers, yeah, man, sucks. Like I had like 22% Ayuk, maybe more, across my best ball portfolio. He wasn't smashing, but I honestly wasn't worried about it. I was excited to advance a low-owned Ayuk to the playoffs, but that dream is over. Jordan Mason banged up going into this one, 14 carries, 58 yards. Brock Purdy, 2 rushing touchdowns. I didn't even know that. George Kittle, 6 for 92. Also a little banged up. Ayuk out for the season. Jacob Cowing, the rookie, he's going to get in there. Ricky Pearsall, first NFL game, first NFL catches. He is I've not been doing the waiver wire article anymore because the waiver wires are dead and no one's watching the content anyways, but go get Ricky Pearsall. That's your waiver wire content of the week. No Ayuk. Don't know when Debo is going to play. He's probably going to miss 2 games minimum. And you probably get CMC back soon here too. And Juwan Jennings as well. I think he missed this one. Digging into the usage. So the routes are there for Worthy. So I'm honestly not that worried about Worthy long run. Juju Smith-Schuster was hurt going into this one. The Chiefs are clearly trading for someone. Something I forgot to mention for the Titans game is that DeAndre Hopkins did not play the fourth quarter. Why would you do that? Well, either you're mad at Hopkins and he said something, or you're going to trade Hopkins and you don't want him to get hurt. So I could definitely see the Chiefs trading for DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, or Christian Kirk. Those guys all make sense to me. Personally, I think if you're trying to replace Rashee Rice, that's more Kirk or Deontay. Hopkins would maybe allow you to put Worthy kind of like a Juju role. That would be fun, maybe. But yeah, Watson and Worthy, top team in routes. Watson, of course, is a wind sprinter. Sky Moore is not a serious player. Cole Hardman, 11 routes run. I mean, they're going to maybe sign MVS. 29 routes for a team did. I forget which team. 29 routes for Kelsey, 17 routes for Noah Gray. He might be your second receiver. And then not Joe Verrett for the Carson Steele best ball bags. Did get 6 carries. Clearly Kareem Hunt is the top guy here. Samaje Perine and Carson Steele. Looks like no one's winning that war. Okay, no Debo. Ayuk gets hurt. What did that mean? It mean we saw Ricky Pearsall, 32 routes, 5 targets. Chris Conley, 27 routes, 2 targets. Jacob Cowing, 8 routes, 3 targets. Ronnie Bell, 14 routes, 2 targets. So what's this going to look like going forward? I think Conley, he's kind of your sacrificial X wide receiver. He can kind of feel like Phil Ayuk, but not get targeted that much. Cowing is your deep threat guy. So is Ronnie Bell a little bit. Ricky Pearsall, I don't know. He's kind of he's kind of slotty too. So I don't know. Can you play Pearsall and Debo on the field at the same time? Not going to be surprised if Eric Saubert, if they run more 2 tight end personnel. So a lot to sort out through here. And CMC is going to return soon, which will significantly reduce how much Mason plays. I'm expecting Mason to stay involved though. So I don't know what's going to look like going forward, but absolutely brutal for the Ayuk drafters. You didn't even get any early season production. That's why it's really bad, Steelers and Jets. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, and Devontae Adams make their debuts for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, 276-1. Breece Hall, 12 carries, 38 yards, a touchdown. Brees Hall, 6 for 103 in the air. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 61. Allen Lazard, 4 for 58. Devontae Adams, 3 for 30. Steelers, Russell Wilson, 264 and 2. Najee Harris, 21 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. Jaylen Warren, 12 carries, 44 yards. George Pickens, 5, 111 and 1. Pratt Firemuth, 2 for 51. And some other Jags. So yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson is like, I don't know if he's better than Fields. I think it's close. They do different things, right? He's unquestionably better for almost every fantasy asset on the Steelers, though, because he's just going to pass more than Russell. He has a better deep ball. So huge boost to Pickens with Russell being the quarterback, to be determined if he remains the quarterback. Huge boost for Freiermuth, and a significant boost to both of the Steelers running backs as well, where they're just going to get targeted more in the passing game. They're going to get dumped off more versus if Fields was the quarterback. Pickens, 29 routes, Jefferson, 21, Austin, 20. So, I mentioned the Chiefs are going to trade for someone. So are the Steelers probably. Like, Mike Tomlin, he probably doesn't have that long of a leash, as you would think. He kind of needs to make something happen in the actual playoffs versus just getting bounced in the first round each year. And you absolutely cannot win a playoff game with Pickens, Van Jefferson, and Calvin Austin. Roman Wilson, I don't think he got hurt again. I think he was just a healthy and active after seeing some action. So their third-round draft pick, they're not letting play. They're probably going to trade for someone, either Hopkins, Kirk, Deontay. Like, yikes. I don't think he really wanted to land with the Steelers, but hey, if Russ is the quarterback, could be worse. And then Jaylen Warren, looking, he's not fully healthy, as he was pretty inefficient, but he's healthy enough to be playing. 19 routes to Najee's 10, 12 carries to Najee's 21, 3 targets to Najee's 0. So despite Najee having good back-to-back fantasy weeks, I don't think it's actually a good sign for him, because if he's getting no targets in the passing game, he's not going to just rush for 100 yards and a touchdown every game. He's not that good. Neither are the Steelers, in my opinion. And yeah, I wouldn't be worried about Darnell Washington, Nicole Pruitt, Connor Hayward. With Devontae Adams making his debut, full snap and route player, of course. Hamstring injury was fake. Allen Lazard, clear 3. Mike Williams might get cut or traded. He might end up a Steeler. And then Tyler Conklin still holding on his role. And yeah, I mean, the Jets have lost back-to-back games since firing their head coach, but they've certainly revived Brees Hall at the expense of Braylon Allen. 3 routes for Braylon compared to Brees' 30. 2 carries for Braylon compared to Brees' 12. 1 target for Braylon compared to Brees' 9. So, I mean, it looks like they're going to run Brees into the ground again, which I don't think it's actually that smart when you have another capable running back and your team is probably not going to be that good. But yeah, rough for Jets. We had a doubleheader on Monday Night Football and another brutal injury stretch. The Ravens destroyed the Bucs 41-31. This game was not as close as the score seemed. Ravens, Lamar throws for 5 touchdowns and rushes for 50 yards. I think like 5 quarterbacks have done that, or 5 games have been recorded like that, and Lamar's done it 3 times. So absolutely insane for him. Look, Lamar should be MVP. Like, to me, MVP it's partly how good your team is, and it's also how good are your stats, how important are you to your team succeeding. So last year, I think MVP should have been Josh Allen, right? They make the playoffs. He has really good stats. He's the reason they're doing it. Lamar got MVP because he had the best team with the best record. This year, I think MVP is unquestionably Lamar. They're not going to give it to him, though, because they might not have the best record, and they gave it to him last year. So, are you going to give Mahomes the MVP just because his team is undefeated? That's super lame to me. But that's how the voters have showed they vote. So I wouldn't go out there and bet guys like Lamar for MVP, because the voters have showed us they will vote for the quarterback with the best record as long as it's not like Purdy or something. So Lamar gets there. Derrick Henry gets there as well. He kind of got there in garbage time where he broke a 50 like 80-yard run or something late in the game. The announcers were losing their shit at him not playing in the 2-minute drill. He doesn't play in the 2-minute drill. Zay Flowers did get banged up in this one, but remained in. I think that contributed to him not getting targeted as much. Rashad Bateman, 121 and 1. He looked good. Justice Hill, 344 and 1. Mark Andrews, revival, 441 and 2. I mean, people are going to say Andrews is back, and maybe he is. I was the one saying all along, if he's just injured, I could see him returning to health. But to me, like his second touchdown, clearly what occurred was the defense decided that, who we don't need to cover? Mark Andrews. They chose to cover instead. Likely, Bateman, Flowers, like they weren't as worried about Andrews. It was kind of like a leak out touchdown that like a tackle would score. So I don't know. Maybe it's a trend that he is going to be the dominant guy in the passing game going forward. Or maybe it was just a case of some blown coverages by a very bad defense. Bucks did some really stupid shit. Mike Evans hurt going into this one. Hurt his hamstring. He plays, absolutely balling, scores a touchdown. Should have scored a second one. Pulled his hamstring mid-run. Out for the game. Probably out for, 2 to 4 weeks now. Maybe longer. So they lost Mike Evans. And, they probably should have just been honest with themselves and say, you know what? Let's rest Mike. We'll get him healed up here. And then we have a winnable division. We'll be 4-3. We'll be fine. Or maybe we'll even steal a win. So they lose Mike Evans. And then in garbage time with no chance to win this game at all, they have Chris Godwin out there. Chris Godwin breaks his ankle, out for the season. So, I didn't draft a lot of Chris Godwin. I did draft a lot of Ayuk. It kind of balances out. Brutal for the Godwin drafters. Absolutely was looking like one of the best picks in best ball in fantasy football this year. Mayfield did get there in garbage time, 370 and 3. I also thought, people are not going to talk about this, but okay, the Bucs start the game 7-0. They are on the 4-yard line with a 4th and goal, and they kick a field goal to go up 10-0. You have to realize who you're playing there, right? Go for the touchdown. If you don't get it, you got the offense on the 4-yard line. Yes, they could have gone up 17-0 if Baker doesn't throw a pick, but I think they were punished for being, not being aggressive, not realizing who they're playing. Rachaad White, far from dead, 10 carries for him, 40 yards, and then 70 yards in the receiving game and 2 touchdowns. Sean Tucker, 5 for 29. Bucky Irving, 923 and 1. Godwin, 7 for 65. Cade Otton, 8 for 100. Bucky Irving, 3 for 54. Mike Evans, 125 and 1. And an injury. Usage stats. Still only 17 routes for Andrews. This is kind of what I'm talking about where, I think Andrews is not dead as far as giving you some random spikes, but 4 targets, 2 touchdowns. Come on. That's not what you were drafting for. And if he's only seen 4, 5 targets, that's kind of how the Ravens want to play. Still going to be really hard for him to be a consistent fantasy producer. Same with Isaiah Likely. Again, I think Flowers' injury played into him not getting used as much. Resulted in Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman getting a little bit more of a bump. And then Derrick Henry, 11 routes to Justice Hill's 10, 15 carries to Justice Hill's 6, 1 to Justice Hill's 2 targets. And Charlie Kolar also played a lot, just didn't run as many routes as Andrews and Likely, although he did early. Early in the game, he was getting used, and then the game got in a blowout, and they used Andrews. So I don't know if this was the Ravens trying to get him back. They were like, hey, in close games, we're going to use Kolar, but let's try to get Andrews going in a blowout. That might have happened. So I think we're looking at a wide receiver rotation of Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, and Sterling Shepard for the Bucs for the immediate future. Godwin out for the season. Evans out for a couple weeks. And Cade Otton is also going to be a major winner in fantasy for the time being. The 3-headed running back rotation of White, Irving, Sean Tucker resulted in 40 snaps for White, most likely because White is the Bucs' top pass catching back. He's also going to be a winner of the Godwin injury where he kind of runs these routes, like these like slanty routes, kind of like him. And B, when you're competing with targets for these guys, I just think he's going to get more targets in the passing game. So 22 routes for White compared to Irving's 18, 10 carries for White compared to Irving's 9, 6 targets for White compared to Irving's 3. And Sean Tucker got 5 carries, 8 routes, 2 targets himself. I still think White and Irving will be clear 1A, 1B. Choose your order there. Probably Irving when they're winning, White when they're trailing, and Sean Tucker is stealing some usage as well. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess you make a waiver bid on Jalen McMillan. He kind of he saw 8 targets. Sterling Shepard, kind of a journeyman. He's been good in the past. And Trey Palmer, he's kind of your prototypical win sprinting guy. So I don't know. It's rough for the Bucs though. Their season's looking over. And then the doubleheader was the Cardinals and Chargers. Not a game I could watch really at all because I don't have ESPN Plus, but I did catch some of it. Justin Herbert, 349 passing yards. I just kept on seeing Herbert's receivers letting him down in this one. J.K. Dobbins, 14 carries, 40 yards. Very inefficient day on the ground. Will Dissly with no Hayden Hurst, 8 for 81. He's a blocking tight end, so good for him. Josh Palmer, 4 for 63. Ladd McConkey was banged up and also bad in this one, 5 for 46. Simi Fehoko, 3 for 45. J.K. Dobbins, 3 for 26. Cardinals. Kyler, 145 passing yards. Also 6 for 64 and a touchdown on the ground. James Conner had 2 fumbles at least. One recovered by the team, 19 carries, 101 yards. So they clearly hate Trey Benson. If Conner's fumbling and they're still not letting him get in there. McBride, 5 for 50 in the air. James Conner, 2 for 51. Marvin Harrison, 3 for 21. He was wide open for a touchdown and he was missed. Marvin Harrison Jr. leads the way in routes run along with Trey McBride. Michael Wilson and Dortch picking up the scraps here. Zay Jones seen his first NFL action this year, 8 routes compared to Dortch's 11. So they're going to be fighting for who is 3, I guess. And then, yeah, Trey Benson, they hate. James Conner is the workhorse, despite him fumbling twice at least. On the Chargers then, so I think Ladd was banged up, but he was pretty brutally bad in this one. And I really do think DJ Chark is going to be a very successful best ball pick if he can get healthy. I think if he doesn't play next week, I think he plays the following week. He is back practicing. And why I say that is Herbert hits Jalen Reagor for an 80-yard touchdown. Reagor, of course, fumbles at the 1 outside the back of the end zone. So the Chargers lose possession. Some people want that rule gone. I do not. Simply don't fumble the ball out of the end zone if you don't want to lose the ball. But, DJ Chark, say what you will, he's capable of catching a deep ball. And Josh Palmer has been pretty brutally bad. So I'm assuming Simi Fehoko can be dethroned by DJ Chark. Maybe even a sneaky waiver pickup. The nice thing about the Chargers is they've been passing the ball a little bit more than they were before their bye. Kamani Vidal kind of played as, 18 snaps compared to J.K. Dobbins' 45, 14 routes compared to Dobbins' 21, only 3 carries compared to Dobbins' 14, 1 target compared to Dobbins' 3. So just expect him to get more and more involved. Does seem he's playing some third downs, seeing that his routes run is so close to Dobbins, but his carries are so far. So Kamani Vidal remains a strong hold on the waiver wire. And yeah, I wouldn't go and chase Will Dissly. I do think Hayden Hurst will replace him if and when he's healthy. All right. That is the full breakdown for this week. So a rough week, I pulled my back. I lost Brandon Ayuk for the season. Other people lost Chris Godwin for the season. BBM finals will be decided by my DJ Chark versus your Ray McLeod. It's going to be electric. This is why we play. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I will be back tomorrow with Davis. Make sure to like and subscribe. The link to join my Discord is below as well. Have a great day. Peace out.